Couple things at the top. Cancer's a bitch no matter what form it takes. JR, kick its ass. And I hope that Lance Archer is going to be okay after that very, very scary spot. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Saturday Night Dynamite Delight from Orlando, Florida. Magic was in the air, from crowd energy to some pretty good matches. And also, Cody wins, LOL, and boos. Boos forever. So many goddamn boos for Cody. Holy fucking shit. There was a smattering of Cody chants. And my fucking goodness, more boos, so many boos, and that was not the right result for the main event. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this show in the comments, please. But in all seriousness, JR, kick skin cancer's ass. I mean, he tweeted that, he's got a diagnosis or trying to figure out, what proper treatment to take. Whatever happens, just hopefully he can be happy, healthy, 100% cancer-free. If he needs to take time away to heal, that's what his health takes top priority. And again, Lance Archer, it's pretty scary, but yep, let's jump right on into it. They run down the card, the announcers do, and everything. I know that this may be controversial, but I actually enjoy Excalibur's commentary. Sure, sometimes he gets a little bit over the top, but he does have a lot of, details to share with the backstories of various wrestlers because he knows a lot of people on the independents, given the fact he worked in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and did wrestle for a few years, and regardless of whether he was good, bad, or indifferent, he does have a lot of connections and does know a lot of this stuff. And Shivani and JR, they got some good, jabs at each other and just some good jabs in general. We start off with the American Angry Dragon, Bryan Danielson, smashing his Angry Dragon and spraying it all over the camera. And wow, that's really goddamn gross. Taking on the Natural, Dustin Rhodes, American Angry Dragon versus the Natural. And I will say this is definitely better than Malachi Black versus Dustin Rhodes, they did to open up. I think it was Dynamite. I can't remember if it was Dynamite or Rampage. But this is better. It was more well-paced. Dustin was obviously very emotional since he did start out in Florida when his dad had his own wrestling promotion. And he, Dusty has own, I think he has his own promotion there for a little bit at the time. He didn't have it for too long after he had left Crockett. But it obviously means a lot to him that he gets to wrestle in the same state and probably maybe one of the same buildings Dusty wrestled in. I'm not necessarily familiar with a ton of, Florida arenas Dusty wrestled in. I don't know how many of them are still left standing. But this is the World Title Eliminator Qualifier match and good stuff. I mean, Bryan targeted the knee, Dustin being the wily veteran, but then again, yes, he's been wrestling since the late 80s. Bryan Danielson, even with that couple-year layoff, still, he's a veteran himself. And really, really good pace. Very good stuff. Dustin did, come back with some nice strikes and everything. Very, very good stuff as far as near falls and just the flow of moves. Very well paced. There was a dive by Bryan, but he kind of went almost into the barricade. Maybe cool it on the suicide dives, tope suicida, whatever. Cooled on that stuff. Not every match needs a dive. Yes, sometimes the dives do make sense, but tone down a bit, especially with Bryan, because he took a few shots where he was laying on his head and it looked pretty goddamn deadly. And Tony Nese was suddenly in the front row. I guess he's all a Nese. Worked hard on these jokes, guys. Please, these jokes, these puns, whatever I'm trying to say. Please laugh. All a Nese. No laugh track. Then again, I can't afford a laugh track because I have no production values to speak of. Big superplex by Dustin. Very nice spot for 2. And then, reverse DDT variation for 2. It looks like Dustin might get the victory. And then Bryan drop kicks him in the corner. Dustin staring up at the spotlight and then gets kicked and chopped and kicked and chopped. And all the other kids with their veteran kicks. So, kicks and chops, it's all in the mind. A LaBelle lock attempt, but no, boo, yay, because Dustin's firing up. And then kicks to the skull, but Dustin comes back with a pile driver. Not the only pile driver variation we see tonight. That was a classic one. And Bryan Danielson with the choke, just choking, gripping the thick, veiny head of the Natural Dustin Rhodes, a naturally thick head that it is, and just stroking repeatedly, jerking on it, and eventually he prolapses and passes out. I think I said that right, but Bryan Danielson advances in the World Title Eliminator Tournament, as you would expect. Good match, though. Very good opener. And the Super Elite. They are there. My coworker came right in to warn me there's a big leak under the water heater. But it is Adam Cole, baby, whatever the Bucks are wearing, and Kenny Omega, who's wearing a pink blazer for some odd reason. But I will say this much. This is going to surprise you guys, because I've never really been a big fan of Omega or the Bucks. And I'm a fan of Adam Cole, baby, but I really don't think the Elite and really anything they do is all that good. I don't think they're that funny, but that being said, I praise them when they deserve to be praised. even though I've, again, never been a fan of them. This is Omega's best promo, in my personal opinion, in, his AEW run. Because, one, he's not out of breath. He's doing a pre-tape here. He's focused. He's talking about Adam Page, the Hangman, as JR says, and basically saying, I know your weaknesses, your insecurities, and stuff like that. I'm going to beat you at Full Gear. You can't win the big one. That worked out so well for Chris Benoit in 2004. Oh, God, Adam Page has a kid. This is going to get me in trouble. Let's move hastily on. But seriously, Omega's best promo, in my personal opinion, as far as his AEW run. So, FTR does pre-tape. They want more gold, and Tully's there like, yes, let's get to more gold and everything. I don't know why he was talking like that. They were cutting a pre-tape talking about how, they outsmarted the Lucha Bros and how they injured Phoenix. And then we go to Penta and Alex Abrahantes. Even though they taped Rampage last week, they were pretending like it was last night because they had to move it because of hockey. And I will say also that since it's going back to Wednesday's Dynamite, that is not Rampage, I will not be watching them live because I work late on Wednesdays. That's why I was able to watch this stuff live, because I work early enough on Saturdays and was able to get off in enough time. Who doesn't love getting off in enough time? Don't get off early, kids. Always, properly work your stamina. That was English, wasn't it? Let's get back to the Lucha Bros, or rather Penta and Alex Abrahantes, who's sporting that shiner and saying, revenge is a dish best served at Sierra Miedo. I think that's how it is. But then FTR mentions, oh, you're selling Wolf tickets. Good old Butch Reed line about JYD. Selling Wolf tickets. Cry on Wolf about it. Sorry to the memory of Butch Reed. Sorry, so sorry. Heard some of those stories, but I could definitely see Butch Reed cutting promos like that. And this was pretty good stuff. And building the fact FTR versus Lucha Bros at Full Gear. FTR won the tag team championships a year after losing them. I mean, even though the Lucha Bros won in that pretty goddamn good steel cage match, not the greatest steel cage match ever in my personal opinion, but some people really like it. I think I wouldn't mind a title switch. I don't know if they're going to do it yet because they're the AAA tag team champions, but hey, at least they're building it up right. So anyway, Shivani and Sting, not Hook. So MJF interrupts. I don't even think Sting got a syllable out. To huge boos. My God, all the boos. And he basically says, I know it's hard, Florida, but show some class. And he's just knocking Sting, knocking Darby. He's cutting everybody down. MJF, in my personal opinion, yes, sometimes he gets cliched, gets whatever. But when he's on, my fucking goodness, the best goddamn promo in the business, best heel promo in the business. Fucking love the guy. Classic heel. Great stuff. He says, he calls Sting Darby's emo daddy. And that was just really good. How you doing? And just knocking Sting, knocking Darby, saying that he's breaking Darby mentally, broken physically. Darby's not here. And Sting, where were you? Your friends stand up for you, and where were you? And just doing some really good stuff. And he says, talking about, something about his leftover stash from the 80s, because Sting used to do a whole lot of drugs before he traded that in for another drug known as religion. But you know what? As long as he's not one of the hateful types that uses religion to justify his skewered views, then all the power to him. And he says, we don't, not like the people here who solve their problems with gun violence and incest. Wasn't the Pulse Club shooting in Orlando? I mean, I don't know about the incest thing, but whatever. MJF's known for cutting to the bone. He cuts to the bone very often. He doesn't cut to the moon. Wait, that's the wrong show. So, he says, if you're not careful, you're going to end up at the same place as your best friend, Lex Luger, in a wheelchair. And Sting pops him, beats him down. Let's be honest. Lex Luger, for what happened to Miss Elizabeth, he deserves it being ending up in a wheelchair. And I am so goddamn glad that he's suffering like that, because Lex Luger, for the piece of shit he was, cheating on his goddamn wife that had kids with him, having Liz live in the same goddamn complex, and listen to that goddamn 911 recording. Oh, he really loved her. Why the hell didn't he try to save her? You could have tried to do something. Oh, right, because you were the one that put her there. Yeah, she's an adult. You were the one that decided to poison her mind even more, Lex. Fuck you, Lex Luger. One of the best U.S. champions of all time, if not the best U.S. champion of all time. But karma's a goddamn bitch. So anyway, Sting pops him, starts beating up MJF. And here comes Spears and Wardlow, because FTR were busy doing more pre-tapes in the back. Spears hits Sting with a chair, but Sting is Stingvincible. And then Wardlow gloms him, and they beat him down. And Spears then sets up the chair, and MJF sits in it, has his jacket ready, and he's holding Sting up. He's just like, beating him down and everything, saying like, oh, look at this, because he beat him down with the ring before he did that. Fisting him with the diamond ring. And says, Darby, if you come back, this is going to happen to you. Good stuff. This is the kind of shit that AEW can do better, really, than any other American wrestling company. Because they got the money, they got the TV, and they're willing to go full blast. I'm not saying they always hit a goddamn home run, but when they hit a home run, you got to celebrate it. You got to notice when they do something good. Now, there was some stuff on the rest of the show they didn't do that well, but this was really goddamn good. Great fucking segment. And then Shivani is with Britt, and he does the whole DMD thing with her, and she talks about how Ty Conte, who she's going to face at Full Gear, keeps on showing her ass. I mean, it's a nice ass. I mean, it's hard not to notice. And Ty can also wrestle, but, she just knocks her, and then, again, Shivani does the DMD thing. And Final Destination Unknown, this segue is not working. And Penelope does her splits. And then we have a TBS first round match, I assume, because people got buys, so I guess it's a first round match. It's Penelope Ford versus Ruby Soho. And it was good enough, I will say, that when Penelope is there with the right opponent, because Penelope has been making improvements. The match she had with Kira Hogan, not that good. This match, pretty good. Because Penelope has made strides. Ruby was calling quite a bit of this because Ruby is obviously the veteran. And it was good stuff. Penelope got quite a bit of offense in. The Bunny, of course, showed up. And let's be honest, the Bunny's best place is outside the ring, not inside the ring, because she's not any good. But having an alliance with Penelope, that's fine. Her being a valet, that's cool. She just is not very good in the ring, especially for how long she's been wrestling. Two dirty blondes tag teaming a redheaded punk-haired woman. I saw that in the movie once. Always delete your search history. So Penelope does hit a drop kick into the ropes and then gloats. Yeah, ha ha! Does that. I don't know why she would have done that. And it was kind of cool how they tried a muscle up spot out of the Matrix, because Penelope does a beautiful bridge, as she does. And Ruby's like, I'm going to jerk you. I'm going to jerk you. She's like, no, I don't want to, no. And then she does end up hitting a cutter out of nowhere, just for two. And then we get kind of a weird botched Irish whip. I don't know what the fuck it was. It's like, I'll go this way, you go that way, I'll go home. And then we get a gut buster for two. So Penelope's really shining here. And then we get a weird, awkward brass knuck spot. And Rick knocks the Knucks out of the goddamn ring. That was hard to say. Rick Knox finally waking up and actually doing something correct for once. I mean, he still can't enforce the goddamn tag rules because he's in there with the Bucks. But Knucks. So anyway, God, I missed a golden opportunity to say that first. And we get the most devastating maneuver in all professional wrestling. Surprise, roll up, 1, 2, 3, Ruby gets a victory. And they're going to beat her down, and then Red Velvet suddenly shows up. Ruby Velvo, which sounds like a shirt or like some kind of weird like shoe. It's not like ruse, not like, shoes for your feet and pockets for your stuff. Man, that's a deep cut. They weren't even in St. Louis. By the way, fuck Jim Herd for what he did to WCW. So we get Mjf Spears backstage. Then Wardlow shows up saying, hey, I know I helped you, but I'm really upset with what you did, shoving me in the Sting last week. He says, buddy, you're doing it really... I didn't mean to. I panicked. I didn't mean that to slight you. I'm paying you really well, but you know what? You've been doing a great job, but you need an accountability buddy. Okay? It's Sean Spears, and Sean Spears is like, hey, the fuck was this? It's basically a way to stave up. I think we're going to go to Revolution before we have Wardlow versus MJF having their first match, which is fine. You got to be careful when you do stuff like this, because if you make Wardlow seem like an idiot, nobody's going to buy into it. If you tease it too much, fans are really going to want to pay off sooner. They got to find a good balance here. This was fine, but Spears, not really all that interesting. And we get Anthony Green versus the infamous Bobby Fish. Infamous, and he always minds his Q's more than his P's because he hangs out with Drake Wirtz. And wins quickly. Then beats up Green afterwards. Here's CM Punk to a huge pop. They pop big for CM Punk for just doing a run-in after a match. And then he's obviously going to face off against Bobby Fish soon. All the other kids with their punked up fish. So, Shivani is backstage with Dante and Leo Rush. I do not care about Leo Rush being in matches. It's not that Leo isn't a good talker, but I don't know what this is going to do for Dante. I know that Darius is out for a while, a lot longer apparently with his knee issue, and hopefully he recovers. But Dante, I think, is fine on his own. I don't mind trying to add a little more edge to his character, but this is probably going to have the same effect that Matt Hardy had on Private Party. Remember that? It's not good. Don't turn Dante heel. Just don't do it. I mean, I don't think they're going to, but Leo, whatever. So, Eddie attacks Archer during his entrance. Archer then attacks and slams Son Goku off. I think it's that guy that had the Dragon Ball Z hair. I don't remember the guy's name. Marcus Cross, I think was his name. So, this is the World Title Eliminator Qualifier match. Or quarterfinal match. Easy for me to say. The only thing I got to say is the match was fine. It's going to be most remembered for the finish, which Archer wouldn't have even hit the moonsault anyway because Kingston was way too close to the ropes. But he under-rotated, and he hit. He jacked his neck really bad, and you could tell because they called a goddamn audible because they pulled a SummerSlam Austin Owen with the most devastating maneuver in all professional wrestling. Surprise roll-up 1, 2, 3. And Kingston advanced. Now, maybe Archer was going to advance and face off against Bryan Danielson. Maybe Kingston was originally going to win. I don't know. And that's neither here nor there. Archer was apparently walking backstage under his own power. Good. Hopefully, it's maybe a stinger. Hopefully he just maybe rung his bell. Give him some time off. Hopefully it's not anything severe. Lance Archer, tremendous wrestler. Maybe don't do that moonsault anymore. He's been doing it since his time in TNA in like 2004, 2005 when he was Dallas. And then he became Lance Hoyt. Maybe don't do that stuff. Because he has had back surgery. I mean, I believe he had some kind of spine surgery. And he came back to New Japan, refreshed and everything. And I just hope that Lance is all right. That's really what I hope. So we then get the Men of the Year there, and Dan Lambert, the sheepish lion Dan Lambert. And I don't know who told Ethan that shirt was a good idea, but I couldn't hear anything over the loudness of his shirt. In all seriousness, he did mention Jericho's cruise, because apparently that's going on. The virus cruise, as it is. Pandemico. Don't wear a mask, man. Whatever. I don't know who the hell's on the goddamn thing. Hopefully they didn't tape anything for the cruise. I mean, watch, they probably taped Dark Elevation and Dark Good God. They're gonna... So, he goes over the feud with the Inner Circle. Talks about America's Top Team and stuff like that. Mentions Sammy. Oh, look, here's Sammy Guevara. And he knocks them all and everything and says... talks about stuff calls... Dan Lambert, sheepish lion Dan Lambert, a fat-faced dipshit, and then he says, hey, you're not sucking on the stick anymore. Lambert was a little more measured here. I actually thought they let a few things breathe, which was nice. Maybe he's just had nerves before, even though he is a passionate wrestling fan. Maybe he's just had nerves as far as like being able to let things just ease out a little bit. But he basically what this breaks down to is he says, okay, Sammy, you want that 10-man tag? Here's the deal. You have to defend the TNT Championship against Ethan Page next week, and if you lose, you must leave the Inner Circle forever because you'll have lost your TNT Championship or whatever. And then Sammy says, but if I win, I get to pick the 3 members of America's Top Team that team up with the Man of the Year so we can kick your ass at Full Gear. Watch them do a blood and guts match. Be a terrible idea, but watch them do that. Watch them hotshot this shit. So... not bad. I mean, Men of the Year, Sky and Ethan decide to attack. And then Santana Ortiz and Hager show up, and there we go. So we get a Moxley Pre-Tape, a very measured Moxley Pre-Tape, where he talks about his daughter, and, he shows his broken pinky, and she latches onto it and everything. Like a bond, and he just realizes he doesn't really care about this tournament, he doesn't care about the demos, any ratings, any of this stuff. Wants to get home to his daughter. He wants to raise her. He wants to take care of her. And to do that, he's got to lay out a whole bunch of people because I'm going to get you before you get me. Measured promo, well done, good stuff by Mox. Maybe he's realizing, especially after that goddamn stupid abortion of a match that he had against Nick Gage at whatever the fuck name that goddamn event was called. Somebody actually furnished me with a copy of that. And I watched that match, and it was embarrassing. It was goddamn embarrassing, but some people like it, that's fine. Maybe Mox is realizing he doesn't have a whole lot of time left, and he needs to work whatever he can and earn his money and then retire, because he nearly lost his goddamn arm and now he bleeds from the elbow often because it's still a wound. He probably should cover that goddamn thing up, but maybe he's realizing his time is nearly up. My time is now. No, Maybe he realizes that being at home and being a father would be a good idea. So he takes on 10 of the Dark Order on Dynamite next, in just a few days on Wednesday. That's in Boston, I believe. So Dark Order pre-tape. Well, Paige is here, and he apologizes, saying, you guys are right. And Halloween's mentioned. This is Halloween, and it's going to be a 4-on-4 match. It's going to be the Elite versus the Dark Order, and we're obviously going to do costume stuff. Whatever. I mean, WWE is doing Halloween Havoc for NXT 2.0, and Halloween Havoc was fucking ass last year. So why not do ass-tacular stuff on the other? It is what it is. It's a way to just go along until we get to Paige versus Omega at Full Gear. Where I gotta say, if they don't put the title on Paige, I think that's it. I don't think you can put the title on Paige, at least until All Out. Because you gotta rebuild that shit for a while. Given what they've done, and given the fact that the crowd was still white hot for Paige, you gotta strike while the iron's hot. So anyway, Jungle Boy gets a huge pop. Whoa, 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 whoa. Man, I can't goddamn do that thing in rhythm at all, and it's just a fucking wave. He took on Brandon Cutler, who's already in the ring. You know, that guy that hasn't offered anything substantial or entertaining to AEW pretty much since he got there, because he's just there for... Nothing against the guy. The guy's a fine athlete. I just don't fucking care, because all this BTE stuff is fucking stupid to me. So... he tapped him out with a snare trap in about 90 seconds, and then calls out the Elite. Oh, you don't want to come out? Puts on a snare trap to Cutler, and Cutler overacts, and then Cole says, hey, all about that boom, and also, you, Jungle Boy, we're going to fight. And then the Bucks show up, one in an excessively loud outfit that you could hear coming from the 5th planet of Mars, which Mars doesn't even have 5 planets around it, but somehow that's going to make sense. Basically, they beat him up, and they do the BT trigger on the stage, which knee strikes hurt more on the stage, in case you don't know. So, they toss him off the stage, by the way, through 2 tables. By God, he's broken in half. There are people in there. There are people in there. So, Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy is pretty much cemented for Full Gear. Dynamite, Sammy versus Ethan. Serena versus Shida for the TBS Championship Tournament. And then Punk versus Fish. Dark Order versus Elite. That's for the Halloween episode. Even though they're probably going to do Halloween stuff on Rampage. And... speaking of Rampage, Danielson versus Eddie Kingston World Title Eliminator match. Seidels versus Leo and Dante, because that was something Leo alluded to. Okay, that didn't fucking work at all, and that's it. Malachi entrance after Miro says, okay, God, you don't want to make me your champion. You want to, abandon me. I will just, break 100 backs. Now, you can knock me down 100 times, I'll break 100 backs. It's just really, really good promo. He basically says, I'm going to do this for me, not for you. And the words of the Redeemer. And he is going to redeem himself. He's going to redeem these nuts, as Eddie Kingston said. And then we move on to, but really good promo from Miro. And then we get to Malachi's entrance. I'm home, dear. And Cody does his entrance. My God, so many boos. Over the top pyro. Thankfully, his, stupid wife, wannabe Stephanie, decided to stay backstage because nobody wants to fucking see her on screen. And Cody versus Malachi 3. And Arn is in the corner of Cody. Cody sucks chance. There were some cheers for Cody. They were just drowned out by the fact that everybody basically hated Cody in this building. My God, they hate Cody. They were booing. Every time he got a near fall, they were booing. Every time he got big offense, they were booing. So any cheers were drowned out. They were cleared. They were clearly out there just to watch Malachi lose this match for no goddamn reason. Cody didn't fucking need this. Lee and Brock show up, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna turn and join the House of Black. No, they fucking don't. Why? Why'd they overbook this fucking thing? We get a table crossroads right before they come back from break. Great timing there. They're both bleeding. Get the Glock chance for Arn, because that's funny. That's a meme. They're both bleeding. Andrade's here. His assistant Jose gets hit with a spine buster by Arn. This is ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. Miss to Arn, and then Pac, battles with Andrade El Oli Oli O. Crossroads, boos, and then we get cheers on the kick out. German for 2, and it looks like Malachi Black's going to get the victory. Nope. We get a dive. We get Cody Cutter. Crossroads. Attempted at another Crossroads. Nope. Tiger Driver 98, 1, 2, 3, and Cody wins, and life goes on, and Malachi Black is going to need a lot more wins to dust the shit off that happened, that Cody basically just heaped on him right there, because that was not very good. The crowd was white hot, but they were really, really booing the fuck out of Cody by the end. So was it the best episode of Dynamite? No. Was it a really hot crowd? Yes. Did I go long in this review? Yes. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.